Hello and welcome to this video on simplifying surds by multiplication. So if you haven't already, go back and watch the one on adding and subtracting surds to get a better feel of what's going on in this video. So we've got 9 questions. Let's get started. So multiplying surds rules. This is the first rule. So if you've got root x times root y, you're going to group those both under the same surd sign and multiply them. Remember, when two things are written next to each other, they're being multiplied. So that's the first rule. The second one, if you've got some coefficients out the front of those surds, just pull them out the front and multiply the surds as in the first rule. See that? Just grab these, sort of like, let's check it out. Like multiplying algebraic things. That's what you do. You grab those things out the front and collect your terms. So then, and the rule 3 is this one, root x times root x. What do you think the answer to that is? Root x times root x, okay, is root x squared, right? And square root cancels squared. So you're just left with x for this rule. So that's a really handy one when it comes to rationalizing the denominator later down the track. Okay, so root x times root x is x. Now, this is a list of square numbers. So the goal of simplifying surds is to get the square numbers under the square root sign. Okay, so for instance, once we get the square number under the square root sign, we can simplify it a bit. So root 1 is 1. Or next one, 2 squared is 4. So what do you reckon root 4 is? 2. And then we're not going to do them all, don't worry. 9 is a square number. So 3 times 3 is 9. What's the square root of 9? 3. And you keep going on like that. You're looking for square numbers under the square root sign so you can end up with writing their square root. Okay. Let's do it. So we've got multiplying. So we've got our little box in the corner to help us if needed. And so root 7 times root 3. Well, that applies to rule 1. We're just going to group those numbers under the same square root sign and multiply them. Equals root 21. And then you have a look. Are there any numbers in this column that are factors of 21? No. So that's as far as it can go. Next one. Negative 3 times negative root 2. Don't let the bracket scare you. Negative times a negative is a positive. Root 3 times root 2. We'll put them under the same square root sign. Root 6. And that doesn't have any square factors, I don't believe. In that left-hand column is what we're looking at, that yellow one. Now, next one, root 2 times root 22. Again, just group them under the square root sign. Oh, whoops, skipped a step. Just show that rule being used. Then multiply. Root 2 times 22 is root 44. Now, are there any square factors in this column? Are there any factors of 44? There is, look, 4. So let's write a square number under the square root sign. 4 times 11. Separate at the square root sign. Root 4 times root 11. Root 4 is 2. So you're always looking to simplify. Root 11, nothing can happen. Next one. Okay, we're using this rule again. Group those sort of coefficient things out the front. So I could write it like this. Negative 4 times 5 if I wanted. Or I could just multiply it straight away. And then we've got root 6 times 15. Negative times a positive is a negative. So negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. 6 times 15 under that square root sign. Root 90. And I think we can definitely simplify that number a bit under the square root sign. There is a square factor. Have a think about what it is. Go through your list. 9 is a factor of 90, which is 9's a square number. separate them out. Negative 20 times root 3, which is, or root 9, which is 3, times root 10. Negative 60 root 10. Lovely. Okay, next one. We got some distributive law. We've got some brackets, but we know the distributive law. We reach out, remember the crab claw? Reach out to the first number. So we're going to have root 3 times root 2. And then reach out to the second bracket to distribute it, the second number. So root 3 times root 5. Now, BidMath says multiplication first, right? So we're going to do these multiplications. Root 3 times root 2, group them under the same surd sign. My writing's a little bit messy today, sorry. Root 6 plus root 15. Now, I don't think that there's anything we can do there. Root 6 plus root 15. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think that those have any other factors, but let me know if you know how to simplify that further. That looks good to me, though. Okay, next one. So, again, crab claw, distributive law. So, 3 root 2 times 2 root 13. Take 3 root 2, because you have that take there. 3 root 2 times root 11. Just write them next to each other. Now, group those coefficients out the front, okay? I'm going to just multiply them. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then we're going to do both of those. 2 times 13 under the square root sign. I'll write it in first. And then we've got, okay, now, just like so. Now, are there any of these square numbers here? I've just realized that up here, if we have our square numbers, they are up the top here. Silly me. All right. Okay, is 1 a factor of 26? Well, yes, doesn't help us. 4 a factor of 26? No. 9, 16? No. Nothing's happening, really. Let's have a look. I don't think we can simplify that any further. Yeah, it's looking all right. Now, next one. And I think this is the last page. Pray. Okay. Root 5 times root 5. Remember that third law down here? Root 5 times root 5. If you need to, just recognize that's root 5 squared, and square cancels the square root sign, so that's just 5. Root 13 squared. Well, the square cancels the square root. It's 13. This one, look at that. It's okay, so we could distribute it with like the index laws, right? So anything in that brackets is raised to that power. So I would say 2 squared times, you could put brackets if you want, 2 squared times root 3 squared is 4. And root 3 squared, that cancels. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So next lesson, we're going to look at dividing surds, okay, and operations with division. So I hope